Hi and welcome to day 3 to the third story of the 25 stories I would tell my younger self. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time today, well, we are doing 25 days from December 1st all the way to Christmas, December 25th, and every day we cover a new story out of the book. Today we have a really exciting story. It's one of my favorites actually, and it's called The Gymnastics Story. And I don't want to recap the story in itself. You can read it in the book, and I think many of you have done that. What I want to do is I want to give you some background information about that story. And so the subtitle that I would choose for today's show is called Talent is Totally Overrated. And in that story, I talk about how I, as a very young age, I was 7 years old, went to gymnastics, and I hated it. I was not good in gymnastics, and I didn't like it. But we had a trainer who was from Hungary, and his name was Attila, and he was really mean to us. I mean, it was unbelievable. He really made us suffer as little kids. And what happened was he trained us brutally. I mean, he was ruthless. He made us stretch over and over, and it was boring, and it was absolutely not that I could say I enjoyed it as a kid, and I wanted to quit over and over again. And I have a lot of lessons attached to that. But so today, I want to talk about that lesson, how talent is very, very a small factor to someone's real success. Because I got really good actually at gymnastics. And the reason I got good was because I spent so many hours beating the craft, if you want to call it this way. So basically that meant we stretched for so many times. We tried flips so many times. And even me, who was not really talented in gymnastics, got quite good at it over time. I experienced similar concepts over my life. When I started playing basketball, I'm quite short. I mean, here you have a really beautiful background here with Hong Kong. You see all we're living in a city here, right? So you can see this, we have a really beautiful view right next to the water, so that's actually really fortunate. But so, me being quite short, playing basketball, I was always a bit struggling in the sport. I mean, in basketball, height is a really big advantage. So I'm definitely not talented to play basketball. Also for kite surfing, I come out of a country where there's no water. So I come from Austria, and if you've ever been to Austria, there's no water, there's no sea. That was, big down, right? When I did business, I had a medical background, I had a scientific background. But so here was always the thing. I was always the hardest worker, and I still am, whenever it comes to doing something. In kite surfing, I was the first person on the water, and I kited in the crappiest conditions, in the crappiest lakes. I mean, that's where I grew up. I could not kite surf in great conditions, but I had to kite when it was cold, when it was snowing outside. I remember sitting in the car right at the lake, waiting for the wind to come, studying medicine at the same time, because I was studying medicine. So I had to study in the car, writing my name cards. You can read that in the book. And I was waiting for the wind to come. And there were a lot of days there was no wind. But so I was just sitting there for 10 hours, freezing. It was really cold, a bit dirty, sandy. But I knew I had to get my hours in. And what happened was, because I practiced so much, over time, I improved so much more than most of the other riders. Of course, there were also people who kite surfed even more, had better conditions, could train more, especially if you grow up in a country like Holland, UK, Brazil, Dominican Republic, Australia, New Zealand. I mean, you have these additional things, but just because you come from Holland or you come from Australia doesn't mean you necessarily become a better kite surfer. You still have to put in countless of hours and hours and hours. Now here, the reason I'm telling you this is this. Many of you, I hope not all of you, but many of you look at someone and you think, oh my gosh, that person is so talented. That person is such a talented speaker. That person is such a talented, charismatic person. That person is such a talented kite surfer. That person is such a talented mountain biker. That person is such a talented basketball player. Talent is so overrated. What it actually comes down to is countless of hours that these people had to train in whatever they had to do. When I came to Hong Kong, I was a terrible speaker. And I still remember many friends who told me, who said, Julian, if you ever go out there and you speak, people are going to leave the room. And I'm pretty sure they did, because I was horrible. Well, guess what? There was no one else who could hold presentations, who could do the talks in our company. So what happened? I was the one doing it. And so even though I was super terrible at the beginning, everyone is terrible at the beginning. over time, I became really good. And over years and years and years of daily presentations, we did presentations on a regular basis. So I did maybe 300 to 400 talks a year. And I did that for 2 or 3, 4 years straight. So of course, after those 1,000, 1,500 talks, I mean, it came out naturally. And if today I have to go in front of a crowd, I don't have stage fright anymore. I used to have terrible stage fright, but I don't have it anymore because it's like the most natural thing in the world. Of course, so once I would go on a stage where there were 2,000 people, of course, I have never spoken in front of so many people. The most people I spoke was around 1,000, 1,500 people. So if the stage gets larger, of course I would feel uncomfortable at the beginning. But guess what? The more practice you have, the easier it gets, the better it gets, the more you have. So why I'm telling you this over and over again is, don't look at people and look at where they are right now and say, oh wow, they're so great, they're so talented. Yeah, all of them started where you are. No matter where you are right now, everyone who's at the very top, they started or they went through exactly where you are. It doesn't matter. If you have no clue about kite surfing, well, voila. I had no clue about kite surfing when I started. The first time I held a speech, I had no clue about doing it. And no matter whether you are the total beginner, an intermediate, or really, really advanced, the top speakers in the world, they went through all these stages that you have right now. So my call to action for day 3 is very simple. Drop the mindset of having to be perfect when you start in something. Everyone who became really good at something started at ground zero. So all it takes is hours and hours and hours of practice. And you have to undergo this just like everyone else had to. With this, I hope you get the inspiration to take action, to practice. Practice makes perfect. There's a couple of things I can tell you as a good tip. Read the book, The Outliers from Malcolm Gladwell. Wonderful book, I think, and he talks about the 10,000 hour rule. Read in there. Of course, I have a couple of stories in there and we'll cover more in my book here. So get this book off of Amazon if you want to, and then you can really read more into detail there. And of course, at the end of the day, take massive action. Practice, get better, and succeed. With this, that's the story of day 3. If you like more of those, please subscribe to our newsletter. Just click the link below. Like us on Facebook, follow us, that would be wonderful. Follow us on YouTube, and check back for tomorrow for day 4 and another really exciting story. Thanks so much. Cheers, guys. Have a great December 3rd. Cheers, Julian.